Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ramachandra Bhagavan ki Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ramachandra Bhagavan ki Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki Nittai Guru Premanande. Can you hear me better today?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, I just set it up. Sorry. Om Tat Sat. Welcome to everybody who's here, and sorry for being a little late. I am just going to briefly read from the Srimad Bhagavatam from the 5th canto. Oops, it's lost. Just a second. Okay, I can't find it. So, we heard yesterday how the beautiful, wonderful Sita performed amazing pastimes along with Lord Ramachandra, suffered separation, and how we heard the internal energy of the Lord works beautifully. So in Ramayana, in many places, we are hearing so many wonderful stories. And wonderful stories. And like I mentioned to you, it's all about emotional basis. It's all based on an emotional description. And it's actually not simply mundane emotion. It's actually a relationship, a rasa-filled relationship with the Supreme Lord. Yesterday, we heard a lot about that and Sita's pastimes with Lord Ramachandra. Today, I would like to bring in another character most important in the chronicles, especially featuring Hanuman. Hanuman, the picture of Hanuman immediately brings amazing bhakti, amazing servitorship, and everything. The character of Hanuman is so wonderful. Although Hanuman is seen in the body as a monkey, there is this beautiful verse by Hanuman in the Bhagavatam, which is trying to get, I had got it and I had kept it up, I don't know, it disappeared. So, very beautiful verse that states that the Supreme Lord Ramachandra Noonam me, we don't have any of the regular material qualifications. And Lord Ramachandra is not looking for these material qualifications. Otherwise, how people like us who have no beauty, no culture, we are just monkeys, ill-behaved monkeys, can be accepted by Lord Ramachandra. It is impossible. Because only because of our desire to serve Ramachandra, we have been accepted by Ramachandra. So that says here you can see that न जन्मनूनं महतो न सौभगं न वा न बुद्धिर्नाकृतिस्तोष हेतुः तैर्यद्विसृष्टानपि नो वनौकशश्चकार सख्ये बत लक्ष्मणाग्रजः. Very beautiful shloka, which reads, one cannot establish a friendship with the Supreme Lord Ramachandra on the basis of material qualities, such as one's birth in an aristocratic family, one's personal beauty, one's eloquence, one's sharp intelligence, or one's superior race or nation. None of these qualifications is actually a prerequisite for friendship with Lord Sri Ramachandra. Otherwise, how is it possible that although we uncivilized inhabitants of the forests have not taken noble births, although we have no physical beauty, and although we cannot speak like gentlemen, Lord Ramachandra has nevertheless accepted us as friends? Purport: in a prayer to Krishna expressing her feelings, Kumti Devi called him Akinchana Gochara. A prefix A means not, and Kinchana, something of this world. One may be very proud of his prestigious position, material wealth, beauty, education, and so on. But although these are certainly good qualifications in material dealings, they are not necessary for achieving friendship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who possesses all these material qualities is expected to become a devotee. And when he actually does, the qualities are properly utilized. Those who are puffed up by a high birth, wealth, education, and personal beauty, Janmaishwarya Shutashri, unfortunately do not care for developing Krishna consciousness. Nor does the Supreme Personality of Godhead care about all these material qualifications. The Supreme Lord is achieved by devotion, bhaktyamam abhijanati. One's devotion and sincere desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the only qualifications. Rupa Goswami also said that the price for achieving God's favor is simply one's sincere eagerness to have it. Lauryamekam mulyam. In the Chaitanya Bhagavata, it is said, Kolobecha sevakera dekha bhagya sima brahma shiva kande yara dekiya mahima dhane jane panditye krishna nahi pai kevala bhaktira vasha chaitanya gosai. Behold the great fortune of the devotee Kolabecha. Lord Brahma and Shiva shed tears upon seeing his greatness. One cannot attain Lord Krishna by any amount of wealth, followers, or learning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is controlled only by pure devotion. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very sincere devotee whose name was Kolabecha Sridhara, and whose only business was to sell pots made of the skin of banana trees. Whatever income he had, he used 50% for the worship of Mother Ganges, and with the other 50% he provided for his necessities. On the whole, he was so very poor that he lived in a cottage that had a broken roof with many holes in it. He could not afford brass utensils, and therefore he drank water from an iron pot. Nevertheless, he was a great devotee of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a typical example of how a poor man with no material possessions can become a most exalted devotee of the Lord. The conclusion is that one cannot attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Goshani through material opulence. That shelter is attainable only by pure devotional service. So, service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a central feature of Ramayana. And you can see anybody and everybody who was serving Lord Rama out of love for him because of the brilliant, wonderful qualities of Lord Rama became very dear to him. But there's one character, Hanuman, who really earned the great mercy and attraction and appreciation of Lord Ramachandra. So that is worth examining a little bit. Hanuman, yesterday we discussed Sita and how Hanuman actually crossed the whole 800 miles jump he did. If at all there was Olympics at any time, a jump of 800 miles with one leap would definitely would have got him forever the so-called great award. But I think it goes much, much beyond all Olympic awards. And for them, it will look like a, wow, this cannot happen at all. I can't believe it. But it actually happened. So that simply shows for people who are puny mortals like us, who go behind great stars, wow, what a high jump, what a triple jump, what a this thing, what that. It's nothing compared to what a pure devotee like Hanuman could do because of the massive strength he had to serve. How he utilized his entire strength. Hanuman is an epitome of a wonderful devotee with fantastic abilities, materially very, very capable, highly educated, and deep devotion and service to Lord Ramachandra, and very humble. This is an amazing combination. You'll never find devotee like that so easily. Very sensitive, very intelligent, very cultured, very educated. And he's in the body of a monkey. And he lives with other monkeys. And he tolerates all of them. And he serves Lord Ramachandra. That's why Hanuman stands out. And everybody speaks about Hanuman, especially in his pastimes with Lord Ramachandra. So, Hanuman briefly in his very younger days, you know that he was born to Anjana, Keshari, and he was of immense power because he was actually Vayu's son. I don't want to go into the intricate details. We have another time for that, we can do that. But Hanuman, as soon as he was born, he said he is hungry and his mother said, go get anything, red fruit you can eat. He saw the sun and he said, wow, that's a beautiful red fruit. And he went zooming towards the sun and he gobbled up the sun, it seems. And the sun disappeared and the whole planet became dark and all the demigods were wondering what is going on. And they said this infant monkey came and ate up. And then he saw Rahu also coming to eat the sun. He ate Rahu also together. Rahu and this thing together went inside his mouth. He thought it's a fruit. So you can imagine the power of Hanuman. And then Indra got angry and he sent his Vajra and it hit the jaw and he fell down from there and the sun and the Rahu came out and then light came again and then he was falling. And Vayu, somehow before he landed, picked him up and went into a cave. My dear son, what did they do to you? Your jaw is broken. And they said, did. And so then Vayu seized air and everybody was lost, gasping for air. And they came down, all the demigods, including Brahma, and all of them came down and they pacified Vayu and they gave great gifts to Hanuman. Each one of them gave amazing gifts that you can never be defeated in war. You will be super strong. You will be, water cannot affect you. Everybody, Varuna, Indra, Chandra, everybody gave different types of gifts and therefore he became excessively powerful. At a very young age, he was so powerful and then he was very young and he was playing all sorts of mischief with all the rishis and sages. He was jumping into the water, pulling their legs. And then when they came out of the water, his mouth filled, he was spitting on them. They had to go back and take a bath. And they were like, he was catching hold of a tiger and an elephant together and tying up on a pole in front of a rishi's house. And that rishi was going to pass stool. And he became so disturbed, watching this sudden elephant. And then he moved that side, there's a tiger. And then he was so angry that, Hanuman was roaring with laughter and rolling on the floor. He said, I curse you. You will forget all the powers you have. You'll never remember. Only when it's really necessary, when the time comes for you to use it in the service of the Lord, will you remember. So then onwards, Hanuman became very humble and became an ordinary person. And that is how you see Hanuman. Hanuman had his education with Surya himself. When he was born, he swallowed Surya, and Surya became his education guru. And he wanted to, his father wanted to get him educated under the best of teachers. Surya was educating millions of students on his chariot while he was traveling, and they were all sitting around him. Hanuman came, it seems, very late, and it was already filled up. So Hanuman said, never mind, I don't need a seat. I'll just fly and listen to the whole classes. But Surya said, when one condition is that I should never stop. I will never stop and you should never stop. And I'll keep changing directions. You should change directions. So in this way, he was floating along with the class. He had a mobile classroom. I think it's the world's first mobile classroom. And he was traveling with Surya and learning, and he learned amazingly. And then when he got his education and he absorbed the entire Vedas and all the scriptures and everything wonderfully, Surya, he paid obeisances. Samavartana, it is called that you have finished the brahmachari, he's finished his education. He asked his guru, what dakshina can he give you? And then he looked at Hanuman and said, you are not an ordinary pupil of mine, so you should do something extraordinary. So he told him that you should serve my son Sugriva. He is suffering a lot because of Vali. So in this way, Hanuman became a servant of Sugriva, who is a Vanara king. And he is far, far less qualified than Hanuman. So Hanuman had the austerity of becoming the servant of Sugriva, who is materially very low capability compared to Hanuman. So that's how Surya used Hanuman. And he said, do something for my son, protect him. And Hanuman was very strong. So he became a very humble servant of Sugriva. And he would always tell, I'm a servant of Sugriva. In this way, he was serving Sugriva. In the material world, it is very difficult to serve somebody who is less materially qualified than you. Everybody is so proud. They'll say, what the hell? Who is he? He does not know anything. I'm not going to work under him. Even if he gives me a better salary, I'll never work. He's a useless idiot. I can never work. Definitely, we all want to work under people who are more qualified than us and we can learn from them. But imagine you're forced to work under somebody, even for a salary, people won't work. But here, Hanuman, who's very highly qualified, cultured, educated, and humble in everything, is serving Sugriva because of the order of his guru, Surya. So it's very amazing that he was serving Sugriva and doing everything, and Vali had tortured Sugriva a lot and taken away his wife, and he has exiled, and he was sitting in the Rishimukha mountains, and where that's the only place that Vali cannot come because of the curse of the Matanga Rishi. And so he was sitting there, and Hanuman was helping him. And that is the time when Lakshmana and Ramachandra come into the forest searching for Sita. Sita has been abducted by Ravana. And Lord Ramachandra is very pained. He is separated from Sita. At that time, seeing these beautiful forms of Rama and Lakshmana, Sugriva feels even more afraid. He feels that Vali has sent some more people disguised to get me. Right? And Vali was really torturing Sugriva like nothing. Vali was extremely powerful. Vali is also the son of Surya. I'm son of Indra. Vali is the son of Indra and Sugriva is the son of Surya, but both have the same mother. That's another big story. That is the charioteer of Surya. Charioteer of Surya is Aruna. Aruna is never got a free time. Once upon a time, there was a breakdown of the chariot, and for one day it was stuck, and there's repair work going on. So Aruna said, this is my best time to go off. I got a holiday for one day since it gets repaired. So he discussed where I shall go, and he said, there's a big dance of Menaka going on, and Indra is there and everything. I want to see Menaka dance. I've never seen. And so all of the great sense gratifiers are going there to Indraloka. So he quickly went there and he dressed as a woman. He changed his form into a woman, very beautiful looking woman. He entered somehow inside because his name was Aruna, he became Aruni. He entered there, and then Everybody turned around and looked at her because Aruni was looking far more beautiful than Menaka. Even Indra himself stopped looking at Menaka and went towards Aruni. And everybody started looking at Aruni. The program stopped. Menaka became very disturbed. And Aruni, Indra said, who are you? Where are you from? And he didn't want to say, well, actually, I'm actually a male. Don't look at me like this. I just dressed like this to be able to enter this program. But Indra told everybody get out. I want to be alone with this lady, Aruni. And Aruni immediately said, listen, I am not a female, I'm a man. He said, all that does not matter. All that does not matter. And he had a child out of Aruni. And Aruni immediately delivered the child and said, I have to go. I have got some program, I told you. And that son is Vali. He left with Indra and he came away and sat down on the chariot. And then Surya asked, where have you gone? And then he said, all sorts of things happened. I just went briefly for. Then he said, what happened? Tell me what happened. And they said, no, I don't want to tell you. No, you must tell me what happened. Then he said, I turned myself into Aruni and I was so attractive that Indra did this. And I went to Menaka and said, really? I want to see that form. I want to see that form. He said, no, please, let's get to a job. Let's drive this thing. People are waiting. Sun has to. He said, no, without seeing, I will not go. It's so beautiful. Then he became Aruni. Then Surya also fell in love with this beautiful form of Aruni and he had a child and that was Sugriva. So through Aruni came Sugriva and Vali. Both are actually brothers and they lived together, but then there was some misunderstanding and you know the history. Vali got locked in a cave and behind Dundubi and so many things happened. And then he had a mistaken understanding of what Sugriva did to him. And therefore he threw him out of the kingdom, and in this way he was tortured. So Hanuman became the servant of this Sugriva. And Hanuman has got the blessings of all the demigods. He's highly educated, he's highly cultured and everything. So in comes Rama and Lakshmana, and Sugriva becomes afraid. He sends Hanuman, go and find out, use your mystic powers and go and find out who these powerful individuals are. I'm describing this to you because it's the first meeting of Hanuman with Ramachandra. Till now, Hanuman has never met Ramachandra. And when the demigods gave blessings, I said his chin was hit and Vayu withdrew air and all the demigods came blessings. That time, the last blessing was given by Brahma. Brahma gave a fantastic diamond necklace to Hanuman. And he said, nobody can see this. It will be invisible. But when that person who is your real master comes in front of you, only he can see it. So around Hanuman's neck is a necklace which nobody can see. It's a diamond necklace, which is given by Brahma. So Hanuman goes disguised as an old sannyasi with a begging bowl. He becomes an old man and tries to slowly go and approach Rama and Lakshmana. So Rama and Lakshmana, suddenly they are walking around, they are looking for Sita, and they have been told to look for this wonder monkey, Sugriva, and Kabandha has told them, this is the person who can show you where Sita is. So they're looking for that monkey and the monkey clan and the Vanaras and everything. So here comes this sannyasi, and then he looks at Rama and Lakshmana, and Hanuman in the dress of a sannyasi immediately understands that these are amazing persons. Look at their features, look at their godly, divine looks, and look at their Kshatriya body. Everything about them is wonderful. So he gets very amazed. And then he comes towards Rama and Lakshmana, and he beholds. He tells Lakshmana, this is a very odd looking sannyasi here. The sannyasi in the middle of the forest. So how do we get suddenly a sannyasi with a begging bowl? It looks very odd. And the sannyasi doesn't look like he's a real sannyasi in the one sense. And immediately both of them notice a lot of things wrong with the sannyasi, because they are very sharp and they know what is what. And then best thing is when Hanuman came close by, Lakshmana and Hanuman looked at him, and Rama immediately said, "You look very odd, isn't it? A sannyasi in the middle of the forest with a begging bowl." Then he said, "No, yeah, I am just like this, like this." And the worst thing is that, a sannyasi like you with a begging bowl having a diamond necklace around your neck. Rama said that. As soon as he said that, immediately Hanuman knew, this is the person. This is my master. This is my eternal master. Immediately his bowl fell from his hand, his stick fell from his hand. He was completely aghast. And he said, I have been serving Sugriva all the time now. And I have to start serving now he. This is my real master. By serving Sugriva faithfully under the order of his guru, he was led to Lord, Supreme Lord, Ramachandra. And Brahma had told him, you will meet your real master, who is the only one who can see this necklace. And instantly understood that. And he immediately changed his form and he became that wonderful Hanuman monkey, so stout and amazing, and came in front of Lord Ramachandra and bowed down on his knees. And he said, you're my eternal master. Command me. I'm so happy that I have finally discovered my master. So Ramachandra immediately looked at Hanuman and told Lakshmana, there's an amazing features he has got. Look at how he speaks. He's highly cultured. He's highly learned. The way he is talking is so good. The words he uses is a highly educated person who's read all the Vedas together. By Hanuman's behavior, by his talk, by his speech, Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana could make out he's a highly cultured person. But he is the body of a monkey. This is the amazing thing about Hanuman. So Hanuman will introduce himself as a servant of Sugriva, but he will tell him everything about the history and how you are my master and how Brahma said so. And then in this way, he'll say, I'll take you to Sugriva, and Lakshmana will explain everything about Hanuman's plight. And in this way, the first meeting of Ramachandra and Hanuman happens. Instantly, both of them are master and servant relationship gets established instantly. Hanuman is very happy to carry both of them on his shoulders, and he leaps across from tree to tree, from mountain to mountain. He's so agile and so powerful, that he moves and comes to Sugriva and introduces. But Sugriva, you see, the behavior of Sugriva and Hanuman is compared there in the Ramayana. As soon as Sugriva comes, he immediately shows his hand. He doesn't even ask them, sit down, welcome them or something, because he's a monkey. His culture is very different. And, he gives a branch of a tree and asks Ramachandra to sit down, doesn't give anything to Lakshmana. And Lord Ramachandra notices and feels very bad. This person has absolutely no etiquette. And seeing that Ramachandra has noticed, very quickly Hanuman notices it, and he breaks a much bigger, better branch and brings it for Lakshmana and asks Lakshmana to sit down. And then he sits at the feet of Lakshmana. And Ramachandra notices that immediately. He notices the wonderful behavior of Hanuman. How he knows culture, he knows how to respect a guest and what type of thing. He noticed that Ramachandra has noticed that Sugriva doesn't have the manners to provide for my brother, who is a prince of Ayodhya. He doesn't even give him a sitting place. He noticed it. In this way, you can see the difference. Although he is a monkey, although he is one of the other monkeys, is very different. This is Hanuman. So, giving up, at no point of time should we give up manners, etiquette, under any situation and circumstances. This shows that Sugriva was not really very cultured and educated. He was a Vanara. So Ramachandra did not take it seriously at all. But he was very surprised to see Hanuman, although a Vanara, was able to do exactly according to the expectations of Ramachandra. This was the type of sensitivity that Hanuman had. And all the discussions happen, and Vali is defeated, Vali is killed for the sake of Sugriva. And then Sugriva takes his whole time to settle down and everything. And finally, Sugriva sends a big army on all 4 directions to search out Sita, right? And so the army that goes down south is led by Angada, and in that is Hanuman. Before going, Ramachandra specially meets Hanuman. And he knows somehow inside him that this person can do it. He can find out Sita for me. And he specially gives Hanuman a ring and tells that Sita will recognize this. If you see, that is the way she will understand that you're my messenger. And then he blesses Hanuman to find out Sita. And Hanuman is, okay, we will try to do the best. And he pays his obeisances to Ramachandra. And he goes, Angada is the leader. And he goes all the way, and many things happen. Finally, they are on the big shore of the ocean, in the southern tip. And they have not found Sita yet. And they are accosted with a very old-looking bird, a vulture, very huge, who is listening to their talks. They are talking about Jatayu and how Jatayu was killed on the beach. They are frustrated. They feel that better we stay here only, don't go back. We have not found Sita yet. We don't know anything. We have no clue where she is. And at that time, Jatayu they're talking about Jatayu, and this bird hears that and immediately starts screaming. And everybody wonders, what's this? And then they spot this huge bird, and Hanuman goes towards this bird. This bird happens to be the brother of Jatayu, Sampati. And then they recollect the whole thing, and Sampati tells, I want to do my oblations for my brother. I heard, I'm very sad. And all the monkeys are sitting around and listening to the wonderful story of Jatayu and Sampati and everything. And then all of a sudden, Sampati sprouts wings and legs and everything, and it becomes the original Sampati, flies in the sky very high and spots where Sita is in the Ashokavana across 800 miles. He can see very clearly. And then he comes down and tells him this is where she is, and he flies off. And then they come to know that Sita is there. Then comes the amazing aspect of how we will go across the ocean and find Sita there. And this is a very wonderful pastime, because like I told you, Hanuman is very humble. Each one of them is saying, oh, I can do 10 yojanas, maybe I cannot do, so many 100 yojanas now. I can do 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Then Angada says, I can almost do 100, but I can't come back. And then everybody is despondent. But one person has never said anything. He's sitting in a corner, separated from the group, and he's very meditative. He is thinking in his mind, actually, that it doesn't matter how much I can do or not do. All it matters is if I get an opportunity to serve Rama, I must do everything to serve him. Right? How to serve Ramachandra is only in his mind. He's not thinking whether I can do or not. He's thinking, if I get an opportunity to serve, I must do. But he's sitting very humbly. Then Jambavan notices, and he says, out of all these people, there is one person he knows, and he knows the history, that he has to be reminded about his greatness and his strength, and then he will do it. So Jambavan sits with Hanuman, and everybody watches that something is going to go on here. And then he reminds Hanuman about his greatness, about his past, and about the curse of the Rishi. Then all of a sudden, Hanuman remembers, and everybody sees that he assumes a huge form, a very, very huge form. And right there in front of everybody, they come to see the beautiful form of the real Hanuman. They have been waiting for so long to see that beautiful form, and they get to see. And then they all know that this is going to be possible. This is going to be done, right? So in this way, people become very hopeful. And then Hanuman is told by Jambavan that, yes, now you should do this amazing feat. You are simply made for this, right? You must do this. Then happens an amazing feat. Hanuman becomes so huge. He climbs the Mahendra mountain, and then with one huge yelling, Jai Sri Ram, he takes off. All this is described very nicely. I'm just briefly telling you. And he takes off and crosses, zipping past across in the sky, like a bird in the sky. You can see him very small. And all of these monkeys are watching, wow, because he's actually so huge. So this is described in the Ramayana. And actually, when we read it first, we see, what an amazing story. Wonderful. Zipping across in the sky, becoming huge. It sounds like all the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales that we have heard about. And sure, nobody believes it. Everybody talks about it like, wow, it's a beautiful story, wonderful story. Demons and monkeys and, all sorts of people. And, it's a real fascinating story. It's like Alice in Wonderland. It's like this is how we think about it. It's not a story, actually. It's real. And today also you can see those places. You can see the bridge built by Rama. And all these things have been found out. So it's actually true that Hanuman did fly like this. And this happened in Treta Yuga. And people had mystic potencies. And it's not to be underestimated. Just that in Kali Yuga, you don't see anybody like this. Hanuman is a person who had yogic powers. He had mystic siddhis. He had everything possible. He was all set to do the best service possible for Lord Ramachandra. So, reflecting on this, many times we think that because of our capabilities, we are able to render service to Krishna. But you can see Hanuman, although he had capabilities, he knew that if I want to serve Lord Ramachandra, the capabilities will come to me. That's how his thinking was. Only if I have the desire to serve, automatically Krishna will give me the abilities. Shabdake Paurisham Drishu. I am the ability in man, Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. So more important is the desire to serve. And then capabilities follow. Because Krishna is saying that if his service is to be done, then everything that is necessary for that he will provide. Right? Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyam. I'll give you everything that is required for you materially, and I'll preserve whatever you have. And in this way, with this combination, you can use it in the service. You can come back to me. So a devotee is never thinking in his mind, I am not capable of doing this devotional service. Rather, he is thinking, I am not benedicted, blessed with the mercy to be able to do this service. This is the way Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada showed in his life, and he trained everybody else. If you look at his pastimes, you will see that all these people, Malati, Sham Sundar, and all of them, 4 of them, after 3 months of initiation, Prabhupada tells them, now go to London and open a preaching center. He's in America. And he just tells them, you can go to London and open a preaching center. He has no money also. And he's just giving order. I'm your spiritual master. Go to London, opening preaching center. Swamiji, they're calling him Swamiji. They're not even calling him Prabhupada yet. Swamiji, we just got introduced. We just got initiation. I don't think we know anything to be able to preach and open a center. And Prabhupada says, don't worry, Krishna will help you. Everything you need will be provided by Krishna. He just says this to them. And they said, okay. And they go and prepare themselves because he has told us. Look at the obedience of these disciples from America, somewhere in the Western world. He has told we must do. And they just got to know what is Krishna consciousness. And they're ready to go. And we can't ask him money also. And Malini has just got married and she's pregnant also. And then she's telling that, is it okay for me to go? I am pregnant at this. And Prabhupada is saying, no, you can go after the delivery of the child. And then the delivery of the child occurs within the next few months or something. I don't remember exactly. And then afterwards, they're ready to go. And they come and they have collected money. And they don't have enough money to fly. So they decide to go on the ship across the English Channel. So it'll cost less. And in this way, they go to London. And they start the movement. And George Harrison comes and it becomes very huge. And Prabhupada tells him, just go, Krishna will help you. And they got the money, they got the sponsorships, and Prabhupada comes there and amazing things happen. In Prabhupada's life, you can see this. He went to America with $7 in his pocket. He was very confident Krishna will give everything because I am doing his job. Right? So devotee, especially a pure devotee, he is not bothered about material facilities and requirements. His mind is on whether I am blessed by Krishna to do this service, I will do it. Although there may be ups and downs, it's successful because Krishna's blessing is there. So Hanuman went across not thinking about the abilities and the blessings he got from all the demigods and the different boons he got. We must note this very carefully. He was sitting there and thinking, if Lord Ramachandra's service has to be done, then anything is possible. That was what he was thinking. At that time, he did not even remember my capabilities. He was simply absorbed in wanting to serve Ramachandra. And he did not take part in that debate about, no, I can cross so much, I can do so much. He didn't even say anything. That's why he turned out to be the person who finally did it. In Hanuman's own mind, when he was thinking of serving, he never remembered his greatness. After he remembered his greatness, then he said, wow, very good, let me serve. And then he jumped across. And the amazing things are, he met with so many obstacles. It's not that when we do Krishna's service, so I am blessed by Krishna, that nothing should happen to me. Lots of things happen to you. Why? Because you are blessed by Krishna and you can overcome that. As soon as he was flying in the sky, Mainaka mountain rose and said, you can rest here. I am known to your father. We are great friends. You are going to serve Lord Ramachandra, and it is my duty to do something for you. Because the ocean has protected me from Indra chopping off my wings. Those days, mountains had wings and they were flying everywhere. Right? Again, another fantastic concept. Mountains have wings and flying? Wow. I thought Ramayana is only about Hanuman jumping across. Now you're talking about mountains and wings. Yes, true. And then Mainaka mountain, he will respectfully say, I've got a lot of things to do now. My mind is filled with many things. But thank you very much for your offer. And he will touch Mainaka mountain with his hands. And he will say, later he'll come back. And Mainaka will be very happy. And glorify and bless Hanuman. So sometimes we find people who will give you shelter, give you something nice, help, because they want to help you because you're on the Lord's mission. There are many, many wonderful souls whom I meet also, and every devotee meets. And they hear about you serving and you're doing all these things and they're very happy. I can do something from my side for you. And they're very sincere and they want to do something. And we are very obliged to accept whatever they want to do because they're expressing their love for Krishna. Right? So in our mission, in our service to Krishna, We should never belittle anybody. Hanuman did not say, oh, who are you? Just a mountain. I am Ramachandra's. I am going to do something fantastic. My service is very big. I am going to find Ramachandra's wife. You are nobody. He very humbly thanked Mainaka. You see, sometimes devotees are very big positions, and they don't know how to appreciate the Lord's service being done by somebody with great effort because his capacity is very less. Like Ramachandra observed the squirrel and Hanuman, and he appreciated the squirrel's service in building the bridge. So Hanuman exhibited that so wonderfully. Then as he was flying across the ocean, again rose another fantastic demon called Surasa. She opened her huge mouth and said that you cannot cross the ocean without growing through my mouth. That's the condition. You will not be able to go across. And then Hanuman said, I respect you very much. And then I'll definitely do the needful. And he grew very big, and she also increased her mouth more and more and more. He also grew big, and suddenly he became very small, went into her mouth and came out. And he said, I've already done what you wanted. I went through your mouth. So Surasa said, you're a very intelligent person. You're a very intelligent. I bless you to be successful in your mission. I'm happy what you did. So sometimes you see, it is not worth fighting with certain types of people when you have a real mission of life. You know, in your Krishna consciousness, when you do service, sometimes people come and try to disturb you. You should just not spend time with people who are not worth it. When you go for book distribution, when you go for preaching to people, you understand this. Sometimes people are just waiting for devotees and they want to taunt you, tease you, and they want to put you in a bad situation, humiliate you and everything. You should very intelligently step off from them without actually creating a bad impression. Keeping them in good terms. This is what Hanuman did. He knew this is not worth spending time with Surasa. This is not the time for me to fight with Surasa, although I can finish her in no time. Right? It's better I don't do anything but keep good terms with her and escape. So very intelligently he avoided. So this is what we see in Prabhupada's life also. Many times he was very smart in maneuvering himself. He knows where to spend his time, where not to spend his time. When certain types of things were proposed to him, he did not take it up. This is not necessary for me and for my mission. It's a waste of time. And then he just quickly changed course. So we have to be wise also, learn wisdom, where to spend our time and where not to spend our time. Right? How to keep up our own enthusiasm and devotional service. And also how to deal with the situations that come in front of us and judge whether I should or should I not. Hanuman was very smart in doing that. And then he sailed across further, and it was not over. Simhika, you know, the great sister of the demon, she came up and said, she held Hanuman's shadow and said, you cannot move, right, unless you accost me. And so he had to do something about this now. So he used his strength and finished Simhika. And he went across. So you can see the way he treated all these different challenges. Where needed, there was no other choice, he used his strength. And where not needed, he avoided. And where he respectfully, acknowledged somebody's offer. And in this way, in our life also, we find many types of people coming in front of us. Not all of them may be very friendly. Not all of them may be devotees. Not all of them are really nicely oriented towards you. So a devotee's responsibility is to deal with them accordingly in Krishna consciousness. Matchitta sarvadurgani mat prasadat tarishyasi atachetvam ahankaran asoshyasi vinankshyasi. So this Hanuman's journey is full of lessons, so many wonderful things. Krishna is telling here in the Bhagavad Gita that whatever you experience, machitta sarva durgani, great problems and challenges, you can cross them over by keeping me in your consciousness. Hanuman was constantly thinking of Ramachandra. He was constantly chanting the name of Rama and keeping him, machitta sarva durgani, keep me in your consciousness. He was doing exactly that. And he was able to overcome everything that came his way, right? And he landed up in Lanka. And look at the amount of challenges. He is going with the blessings of Ramachandra to do things. It's not that he has no challenges. All along he has had challenges. And then Lankeshwari, the guard, the gatekeeper of Lanka, she finds out this monkey. Who is he? Doesn't belong here. And then gives him a punch, gives Hanuman a punch. Hanuman fell down. Then he suddenly assumed his big size and gave the Lankeshwari one punch. He fell down. Lankeshwari immediately recollected that long back I have been told, the day when a monkey comes and beats you up and defeats you, from that day you should know that Lanka is finished. Immediately she said, thank you, I'm leaving, looking after myself. I bless you. She blessed Hanuman and just left the place because she knows the end is near. She has been told. So Hanuman entered Lanka and not 1, 2 challenges. Then he became very small. Now the real challenge is Hanuman is a brahmachari. You know, how is he going to search for Sita? And Ramachandra took Hanuman aside and described Sita to him. How she looks, what height she is, what color she is, how her face looks, how her body looks and everything. So that he will not make a mistake. Why? Because in Lanka there are so many women held prisoner by Ravana. And amongst that all are beautiful. You have to find out Sita. No. You don't know anybody and you're a monkey, you're a brahmachari. How do you know? You don't know anybody. So he taught him how to look for Sita. And so it's mentioned that Hanuman had his yogic power and he made himself so small, went through the keyhole of Ravana's harem and got inside his harem. Harem is a place where he has thousands of his women from different places in the world. He has picked them up. He collects women. His hobby is to collect women. I know some of you have stamp hobbies, coin hobbies, and all that. Ravana's hobby is to collect beautiful women. Ah, very nice. Come here. You come be with me. And so many times he brings them in his chariot and puts them in the harem for his enjoyment. This is how he bought Sita also. It's a regular thing he does. So now Hanuman was seeing in the night all of them sleeping in various ways. Dress half opened, half closed, this, that, all drunk because they've enjoyed a whole night with Ravana. And every one of those women, he had to go and check whether this is Sita. Is this a brahmachari's job to do? And so Hanuman, it seems, was wondering, what am I doing looking at different types of women, checking up, is this something? And it seems then he corrected himself, no, I am doing a service to Lord Ramachandra. And he adjusted himself correctly. This is serving Ramachandra. It's my duty to find out Sita. So he went everywhere and saw beautiful ladies. Nothing happened to him. Because in his mind, he was thinking, I have to find Sita for Ramachandra. And his mind was completely focused. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bharushaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. He was very focused. And then he went even up to Mandodari, and Mandodari was very beautiful. And then he thought this could be Sita. But then he looked at the beautiful dress of Mandodari and her jewels and everything. He said, why will Sita dress like this when she's not with Ramachandra? Sita will not be dressed like this. And then he checked her feet and found there's no signs and all that. And he decided no. In this way, he came out and he said, wow, I am not able to find Sita. He became very dejected. Then the moon came out of the clouds. And at that time, he saw the Ashokavana lit up. And that's how he went to Ashokavana and he found Sita there sitting. Then he knew by looking at Sita, this is the person. He was very happy and joyful. But he knew that I cannot present myself to Sita. Why? She'll be afraid. She'll think I'm Ravana. I've disguised myself and come. And I don't want to scare her. So what should I do? Let me think. So he sat in that tree under which Sita was sitting, in the Ashokavana, the Ashoka tree. And he was sitting in the tree. And he was thinking what I should do. You see, before we have a service to do, and that too such an important service to do, it's not that we should simply go and jump inside, everything will happen nice by Krishna's mercy. It's not that because you have Krishna's mercy, you should be stupid and unintelligent. Because you have Krishna's mercy, you should intelligently use your situation and achieve Krishna's purpose. This doesn't mean you shouldn't use your intelligence. It doesn't mean you should not use precaution. It doesn't mean you should not use strategy. In fact, all this will be given to you by Krishna so that you can use it. So Hanuman is a fantastic example of that. He sat there and decided, so this is Sita. This is how her mind will be. She's distraught. She's distressed. She'll be so unhappy, highly tensed. And then he saw Ravana coming. First time he saw Ravana. Wow. And Ravana comes there with all his associates. He looks amazingly strong, huge. With his, stands, he comes there and scares Sita like nothing. He said, better you decide, better you surrender to me. Why are you getting attached to this puny fellow called Rama? Who is he? He's just a small king. Do you know who I am? You know what all I can give you? And all that. And then Sita answers, I will never be yours. You don't understand who is Ramachandra. You will never know. He's going to come here and finish you and destroy this entire kingdom of yours. She says all these things and starts hugging the tree and crying and sobbing. And Ravana scares the living daylights out of her. Don't surrender to me. And then all the Rakshashis and all start supporting Ravana. And then he tells them, get her to surrender to me. Use any method you want. And then as he goes, he says, she doesn't surrender, tell me, I will cut her to pieces and eat her for lunch. He tells this to Sita, I'll cut you to pieces and eat you up. Because they're all Rakshasas and they like to eat human beings, especially a beautiful human being like Sita would be very tasty. If you don't surrender to me, at least I can do that. I can eat you up. So such a threat, such a scare. He comes and terrorizes her and goes, and she's so tender, so soft, and she's just pining there. And Hanuman watches this whole thing and he sees the situation of Sita and feels very much. She's sobbing and crying and all the Rakshashis are planning and prodding her. So what he does at that moment is he starts singing the story of Lord Ramachandra. He speaks about King Dasharath and he speaks this beautiful story about his son and how Kaikai, took the boons and how he was exiled to the forest. And Sita's whole attention, who is this? Where is his voice coming from? So he knows exactly what to tell in order to change Sita's mood, make it favorable and nice, right? So he sings so beautifully. He's got this Vak Shakti, the blessings of the demigods. So he's very good at singing. He learned singing from Narada Muni. And there is a pastime to do with that also. Narada Muni especially taught him how to sing. So he can sing, he can write poetry, he can speak very well. He's highly, capable of doing these things. So he recited very nicely. And then she became more and more pleased. Who is this? Then he quietly descended from the tree. And he was like an ordinary sized monkey only. Then he bowed down and praised this thing. And he said, my dear mother, I am been sent by Ramachandra to meet you. I am his envoy. Please accept my most humble respects to you. He sat very nicely with his hands folded, with his tail tucked, and she is watching him and saying, how, really? Are you the person who is singing this wonderful thing? Yes, I am Ramachandra's servant. I am belonging to the kingdom of Sugriva. And he tells the whole story. And says, Ramachandra is pining for you. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't eat. He's thinking of you all the time. And then hearing that, she starts crying. In this way, very nicely, he brings Ramachandra inside. And Sita recognizes, yes, you're my real savior. You have Ramachandra. And in this way, there's a meeting. I'm watching through this, but this is a very beautiful meeting, an amazing conversation. And it's filled with a lot of things. Can somebody mute themselves while you're doing other things? That's not me. That's not part of Ramayana, by the way. Whatever you're hearing. Yeah. Thank you. So, what I'm saying is we have very less time to discuss these beautiful pastimes, but I just want to bring out the wonderful character and the wonderful devotee that Hanuman is. We think devotee means somebody who sits in a corner and chants his japa alone, and then reads his Bhagavatam alone and does his worship alone, sadhaka eternally. No, devotees do amazing things for Krishna. Devotees do amazing things for the Lord whom they love very much. They take risks. Here, Hanuman has taken a very big risk. He's landed alone in the enemy camp, the dreaded Ravana, who's ruling the three worlds. He's landed in that camp. What an amazing risk he has taken. And there he is prowling around and trying to find out things. So he has come here and he has found finally Sita. And then his conversation with Sita is one of the most beautiful conversations, because Sita recognizes, and for the first time she's seeing after a very long time, somebody whom she can talk to, who can relate with her, speak about Rama. You can imagine her happiness. But at the same time, when Hanuman takes a step forward to give the ring or something to her, she immediately backs out. She's still very careful. This could be Ravana. Like that. So very slowly Hanuman convinces her, you don't have to worry. You don't be afraid. He takes his time and very nicely does that. And he increases the confidence of Sita. And she becomes increasingly happy that Hanuman has really come to help me out. He is my Lord's servant. And he is genuine, sincere, wonderful devotee. She gets convinced about this, especially when he shows the ring of Ramachandra. And she becomes highly emotional. And Hanuman watches all these things, and his appreciation for Sita goes up so much. And is so happy to have contacted Sita, right? So Sita is Lakshmi. And Hanuman is a wonderful servant of Ramachandra. And for him, Sita is like mother. He addresses her as Mother Sita. And then as Sita keeps telling about her misery and about what will happen and Ravana will come again, and she tells Hanuman that, tell Ramachandra to come here very soon. Anything can happen. I'm in great danger. So Hanuman suggests, Mother, why don't you just jump behind my back? I can take you now right away. Your misery will end. You don't have to be worried like this. Don't worry, I can leap across the ocean. Just like I came here, I'll go across. I have the capacity. And don't look at me and think this is what I am. And then he increases his size, becomes so huge You know what I can do? I can actually lift the whole of Lanka along with all its rivers and mountains and valleys and the palaces of everything together and throw it into the sea. I'm capable of doing that. But I'm not doing that because Ramachandra is supposed to come and do it. I'm not doing that. So don't think that I'm a small monkey. I can do. You should have confidence. Just come behind me and I will take you. Then she refuses. She said, no. That's not correct, because you will go in the sky, I'll be sitting behind you, and then that person will attack you. Lanka, they watch you taking me and they'll definitely attack you. Ravana will fly in the sky and attack you, and then you will fight with them, and then I will fall off somewhere. Cannot be clinging. How can I do that? I'm just a very simple woman. I don't know about all the Kshatriya stuff and all that. Then she will also say that, and moreover, he said, no, don't worry about that. Those things I'll take care of. Then said, no, I have never touched any other person apart from Ramachandra. She will tell him this. And then he will say, no, these are not the reasons. Actually, you're not telling me the real reason. Then Sita will reveal the real reason. Exactly like you said, Hanuman, that you won't drown the whole of Lanka in the water. The same way, I want that Ramachandra comes and rescues me. I want him to come and take me back. Kill this Ravana, kill all these people, and then take me back victoriously. That is the right thing. I'm waiting for that. Hanuman immediately respects what she said. And he gives her great consolation. He tells her many things about Ramachandra. And he tells that, what shall I tell Ramachandra to prove that I have seen you? Is there anything that you want to give me? Then Sita says, there is one pastime about a crow coming and pecking me in my breast and everything, and how Ramachandra chased that crow. And finally, the crow came and paid obeisances and surrendered to Ramachandra, and Ramachandra forgave that crow. She tells the whole pastime. And he will remember this. Only he and me know this. So Hanuman departs finally. And before he leaves, of course, he makes a mess of Lanka. He sets it on fire and everything. We won't go into that detail. And Hanuman goes back victoriously. So in this whole Ramayana, this is one of the most important portions. How Hanuman goes to Lanka, finds Sita and comes back. Reports to Ramachandra. And Ramachandra goes, defeats Ravana, finishes the whole of Lanka, and brings back Sita. This, like I told you, Sita is like the spirit soul who's taken away by Maya. Hanuman is like the guru who comes and preaches about Krishna, the supreme absolute truth, the conditioned soul, puts them in touch together. The guru brings Krishna to you. He explains Krishna to you. He engages you in devotional service. And then he increases your Krishna consciousness. And in this way, Sita is united with Ramachandra. That happens, and Hanuman plays a very key role in that. When Hanuman goes back and lands up with all the monkeys, they are wild when they come to hear from him that they have found Sita. So they are amazing celebration they have, and they sit with Hanuman and want to hear everything that happened, that great adventurous thing. And Hanuman happily relates it with, and they all enjoy it, and they rush back. And Hanuman, it's mentioned that as soon as Hanuman even comes flying in the sky to land there, climbing here and there, he sees Rama and he shouts to Rama. He doesn't say, it seems, I found Sita. He doesn't say. He thought, I should never say, I found Sita, because I did not do that. He was so humble. He actually says, Sita found. That's all he says. He says, Sita has been located. So that instantly Rama will know good news. He may think something else within the first two letters if I say this or that. So he's so intelligent that he puts that Sita has been found instantly. And Rama becomes very happy. And as soon as all of them come and pay their obeisances, Ramachandra is so happy. He says, tell me everything about how is she, what is happening. And Ramachandra becomes very emotional as he relates everything. So Hanuman has got the very, very intimate service of uniting Krishna with his consort, with Ramachandra and Sita. It's a very personal service, a very private service, a very confidential service. So, and he has the capacity to relate that very nicely. He's very distinct from all the other Vanaras. Being a highly sensitive, humble, highly educated, highly intelligent devotee. And so that's why Ramachandra picks him up. You should do this. And he comes back successful from that because he followed the instructions of Ramachandra. And it is also the desire of Sugriva that I owe this to Ramachandra and I'm depending on Hanuman to be able to find out. Only he can do it. Right? So in this way, he satisfies everybody, comes successful. And then he brings that little jewelry that Sita also had given and shows it to Ramachandra. Proof that I have actually seen. And he immediately recognizes, oh, this is Janaka Maharaja's gift to her. And I remember this. In this way, Ramachandra becomes completely confirmed. And he becomes so happy with Hanuman that he's been suffering from separation of Sita. And he brings this wonderful good news. And he has done the job of finding Sita personally, going and meeting with Sita face to face. And he tells everything. And hearing all that, Ramachandra becomes so happy. What a wonderful servant. What a wonderful devotee. You know how to do everything nicely. So, when you do your devotional service nicely, all your seniors become very happy with you. And you're very well behaved. You're not proud. You're not this. You're not that. Ramachandra becomes very emotional. And he tells Hanuman, you have done the greatest service to me. I do not know how to repay you for it. I don't have anything that I can repay you in this situation. All I can do is to embrace you and give you my hug. So Ramachandra hugs Hanuman very tightly to his chest with deep emotion. And he literally sheds tears on the shoulder of Hanuman. What a wonderful devotee you are. How satisfying a service you have done to me. So this is the success of a devotee. That he can please the Supreme Lord. If one pleases the Supreme Lord, Krishna, then everything is achieved. Everything is achieved. This is the meaning of a conditioned soul. That is why we are serving according to Prabhupada's order. He asks us to distribute books. He asks us to teach people to chant Hare Krishna. He asks us to read his books, convey this information to others, and work for his movement, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and help it to grow and help humanity, help so many people to become Krishna conscious. Prabhupada is very, very anxious about this. People should be saved. People are innocent. They're not being led properly. And they're all human beings with good capacities. And their life is going waste. Nobody is giving them Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada had so much anxiety at an age 70 plus years old. He traveled all over the world and worked like nothing to establish Krishna consciousness. And he said, I'll be very pleased if you all become Krishna consciousness and give it to others. So we should take devotional service to the Lord very seriously in this wonderful mood of Hanuman. The service mentality is very important. a mentality of serving. And this service does not mean I'll serve only Krishna, not anybody else. No. If you are serving Krishna, you'll be able to serve Krishna only when you learn to serve devotees of the Lord. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayor Dasa Dasa Anudasa. That unless we become servants of Krishna's servants, we will not be able to please Krishna very much. And Hanuman is a fantastic example of that. He was so humble, so nice to everybody, so respectful. And the way he conducted himself, completely depending on Ramachandra all the time, is a wonderful example. We can learn so many things from Hanuman and his activities. He's simple at the same time. You see, that's what is amazing. Hanuman is filled with simplicity. It's the opposite of duplicity. We want people to think something about us which we are not. Right? But Hanuman is just reveals himself. And if at all he has intelligence, he uses it in the service of the Lord. He doesn't use his intelligence to become duplicitous. He doesn't use his intelligence to do anything against the furthering of his own Krishna consciousness or that of others. There's no material element involved. Once when Hanuman is watching Sita dressing, after the war is over, they've all gone back to Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra is coronated and everything is happening, and Ramachandra is very dearly, gratefully acknowledging the services of all his devotees. And Sita is dressing herself. Hanuman has the capacity and the right to watch her. And while she's putting the sindoor in the parting of a hair, married women put that. He's asking, may I ask you a question? And he asks, why are you putting that red powder here? Then Sita is very amazed. He does not know this. She's a brahmachari. He has never been with any women, nothing. So she's very amused that he's so simple that he's asking me this. So she instead of giving the complicated Varnashrama system answer, she says, I simply put this because Lord Ramachandra is pleased to see this on my forehead. Then he immediately said, Ramachandra likes this. So he immediately goes out and goes to the nearby temple there, and he asks for this red powder, which ladies wear. And then he takes it and puts it all over himself. And he goes and stands in front of Ramachandra. You must be pleased with me. You must be pleased with me. And Ramachandra becomes moved. This is simplicity. You see his simplicity. Although he's so intelligent, he can go to Lanka. He can set the whole place on fire. He can actually smartly, intelligently go through the whole harem of, Ravana and look out for Sita. And then he can nicely put it across to Sita and allay all her fears. And he can do so many wonderful, intelligent things. At the same time, he's very simple. Because simplicity means I have only one thing in my mind: how to make Krishna happy, how to please Krishna. That's why Hanuman is such a pure servant of Ramachandra. So we can learn service attitude. Prabhupada told us that service attitude is called Swarupa. What is your original position in the spiritual world is called Swarupa. And it's your service attitude that Swarupa. So each one of us has got a Swarupa. We're cultivating our service attitude. It's not just service physically, but it must be backed up by the correct attitude inside. Devotional service should come out of your own volition, out of you in that particular mood of service. It's not that we do volumes of service with no mentality of service. Right? So we connect ourselves. That we can learn a lot from Hanuman about that. So there are volumes of things we can speak about Hanuman and his wonderful activities in Ayodhya and about his love for Sitaram Lakshman and their wonderful services. But we don't have time today. It's already 9:30. So I will end here and we can continue again tomorrow. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Any comment or question that anybody has? No. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.